Good evening. You're watching our democratic newsroom where all of us have once again come together to discuss one hot button topic. And this time around, it is the Uniform Civil Code. The 22nd Law Commission has invited opinion suggestions from religious groups and other stakeholders on what they think of one law, one nation. What does it really mean away from the politics? Of course, we're going to bring in the politics in it as well. But what does a uniform civil code mean? What are the legal contours of it? What are we looking at? And ultimately, is India actually ready for the Uniform Civil Code? I want to quickly introduce you to our panelists this evening. I have with me, starting from the right, Akshita, my colleague, as well as Nalini, who's going to give us the legal perspective on this, Gaurav Sawant, Nabila Jamal and Anisha. Let's start with our legal team first. So, Nalini, what do you make of it, the 22nd Law Commission inviting opinion? You know, as much as the matter is political, it's also deeply social, ingrained in India's fabric or narrative of, you know, religion, polarity, all of that comes into the picture. But explain on what's the current context of why we are once again talking about the UCC.
Well, Preeti, at the very outset, first let me say that the debate is not about whether or not the Uniform Civil Code is a good thing or a bad thing. Of course, it's a good thing. That's why it's a part of the Constitution. That's why it's part of the Directive Principles of State Policy. Thank you. So for that very reason, it needs to be understood that what we are debating today is India ready for a Uniform Civil Code, which has been the debate since 1948,
right,
since the time of the Constituent Assembly when our Constitution was still being drafted. And contrary to what you said, I don't think the issue is neither political nor social. I think the issue is first legal.
True.
And the problem why I think, and my opinion is very clear, that India, in my opinion, is not ready for a Uniform Civil Code. And the reason for that is because the issue is being made political. Now the Bharatiya Janata Party, which is put it as part of its manifesto.
Since 98.
Yes, which is so gung-ho today about a Uniform Civil Code, is the same Bharatiya Janata Party that back in 1950 was opposing the codification of Hindu laws. And the Congress Party that is today against the Uniform Civil Code is the same Congress Party that put us 10 steps back after the Shah Bano judgment.
True.
When they brought in the protection, ironically, of Muslim Women from Divorce Act. So keeping that in mind, politicians should not be given the job to decide as to whether or not the Uniform Civil Code should be brought into the country, is my opinion at the very first.
All right, let's get another legal opinion. Go ahead. Anisha wants to make a point.
Adding to what Nalini said, this issue is not really political as much as it is social, and we also need to look at it from a social and, if I may use the word here, a feminist perspective. Because remember, the question is about giving equal rights to all citizens, giving equal chance to all citizens. When we are looking at the question of a Uniform Civil Code, what are we really looking at? And that is what we need to see. We're looking at marriage laws, divorce laws, inheritance, succession, adoption, guardianship. At the moment, as the laws stand, none of the religions in the country are particularly happy giving equal status to their daughters, to their daughters-in-law. We've had multiple Supreme Court judgments, we've had multiple amendments, which have sort of pushed for an equal status in law. If you stop looking at it from a religion-specific perspective, look at it from the legal and social point of view. It took a Supreme Court judgment in 2020 to say, even in Hindu law, which had co-partnership rights, give it to your daughter.
No, you know, okay, that's exactly the way I look at it, because politics be damned, even though it's been part of politics, whether we like it or not, ever since it became a part of a manifesto of a political party. For me, I look at it, Gaurav, from a very basic level. If we have the gumption to take down Article 370 in Kashmir, then when it comes down to gender equality, I want the Uniform Civil Code, because I think every woman deserves an equal chance in this country.
You know, if we are truly secular, as a state, then it's not religious laws that should govern any citizen. It should be the law passed by Parliament of India. And look, let's just break this down. What does this mean? A Hindu, a Christian or a Sikh can be prosecuted for having 4 marriages which are permitted for a Muslim. What do we want in our society? Do we want a society where everyone's equal, governed by the same laws? Or in 21st century India, we want religion-specific discriminatory
Gaurav, can I
laws,
ask you two
even if it is, even if it is,
some tribals,
you know,
by the way,
you know,
practice
so,
polygamy and polyandry.
you know,
It's
exactly.
not just Muslims. So this is precisely my problem.
I am
Okay,
sorry,
no,
I am sorry.
the precise, no, one
Yes,
second.
yes,
The precise
yes.
problem
Okay,
here
let's
is that
finish
this is
and then
because the
okay.
government versus Muslims, right? It's
Why
almost
should
looking like
it
as
be-
if it's targeting one community because you raise exactly
You know,
that. You
you know-
exactly
And the
raise
problem-
polygamy, which
and
is
the
also a
problem
problem
with
other
that
tribal
is it is
communities
not
as
just
well.
about bigamy.
Okay,
It's
let's
also
go one by
about-
one.
If
Okay,
it
one
wasn't about religion, then I'm all for it. If
Okay,
it
let's
comes to
go one by
religion,
one.
trying to
Okay,
prove a
Gaurav,
point,
Nabila, let him make a
1
point.
year
Then
ahead of 2024,
okay,
it looks very
Gaurav,
political.
complete your comment.
I am so sorry that, you know, we are in a panel with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 women. 5 women, and we are saying that we are not ready for...
Who's saying?
She said, this is not the right time. Hold on. You can outshout me,
There
I'm
are
sure.
ways to
Well,
try-
there are
there are
5.
Okay,
There are
let's
5.
not outshout
There are
anybody.
5
Gaurav,
can outshout
Okay, one by one,
How
let's
many
go one
women
by
are
one.
in corporates in India? You tell me that. How many women are in CEO positions in India? How many
Okay,
women
you
are
know
actually
what?
empowered?
You know what?
You
Let's
may
not
want
have
to
this.
permit- you
Let's
may
not
want to
have
permit
this.
me.
Okay, one second, let's do one by one because nobody can hear anything. Gaurav,
Exactly.
you quickly make
Just
your point.
permit
Gaurav, why don't you point out?
Nabila,
for
let
us
him make her point.
What is the government doing in
Nabila,
making women empowered?
let him make his
him,
point,
his
and
point.
then we'll come.
No, what
to
I
you.
don't
Go ahead,
approve
Gaurav.
of is saying
Yes,
that
come,
one
you-
religion is allowed, why not the others? These are prosecuted, Muslims are not. I mean, let's get
It's
done
not
with
about
that.
Muslims.
That
The number of
kind
Let's
tribals
Muslim
also
rhetoric, I
remember
think
the
it's-
fact
I
that
think
it's
we
not
should
about
really-
marrying
If it is
religion.
about
I think
inheritance,
we
if
should
you
really
look at
move
this,
on
yeah.
from that anti-Muslim
Okay,
rhetoric.
great.
isn't
Go
it?
ahead, Gaurav.
Okay.
As anchors at least.
Okay, if I'm permitted to just complete my point.
Make your point.
It was in 1791, that a French feminist, Olympe de Gouges, in 1791, she was fighting for rights of women to be able to get a divorce, for women to have equal rights. In 1791, she won it. 1792 in France. We are in 2023 in India, and we don't want the same equal rights for women. If you
Nabila, Nabila, go ahead. Go
if
ahead.
you
Yes,
do,
we are
then
going to
let us,
Nabila, go
okay,
ahead.
permit me to complete my point.
You
Give
made
me
your
20
point.
seconds. Give me 20 seconds to complete my point.
Let her. Nabila,
Okay, I am sorry.
And yet
So
every
let a woman decide who she wants to marry, who she wants to
Okay,
divorce. Inheritance, give her
Exactly,
equal rights.
exactly.
Give
That
her
is
equal
exactly
rights.
the point,
Let's
but
go
it
one
is
by
not
one.
about
right.
Nabila,
religion.
okay, Nabila, just go ahead, and then Anisha, and then Nalini, and then Akshita.
My only point is
Go ahead.
we've got to start as a society first to empower women in the true sense, right? And that comes with ensuring, giving space to women, give them roles in corporates, allow them to become, step up as CEOs.
Why can't UCC be that first step?
No, why should that be the first step?
Why
Because
not?
Okay, may I just
So,
interject?
Uniform civil code is at the cost of killing diversity in many levels.
How does it kill diversity?
I have a
Let her
question.
finish.
I have a
Okay,
question. Is there any format of a uniform civil code that the government has presented for us to think, all right?
Nabila, but that is
Okay,
there's
okay,
no
okay,
format
whatsoever.
There's no draft.
Okay,
Nobody has
there
ever-
is no draft.
Another thing.
Make your point. Okay, let Nabila make her point. Make
We
your
are
point.
so diverse as a country. Tell me if all communities are actually having that kind of trust and belief in the government for them to actually accept the uniform civil code as of today.
I'm sorry, nobody really accepts the laws as they exist in the first
Akshita,
place.
one second.
Nabila,
Let me bring in Akshita. Akshita hasn't had a word in.
For
Akshita, go ahead.
starters, Nabila, just a yes or no. Are you opposing the UCC?
Not at all. But I'm not accepting it as of today.
But
when
you're
there is
saying
so
it
much
doesn't
mistrust.
accept diversity.
When there is
Today,
mistrust.
Nabila.
When there
No,
is
I think
mistrust.
draft of-
Okay, one second. I'll come to you. I'll come to you. Okay, make your point.
I think
Make your
her
point.
question,
Nabila, now let her make her point.
I think
Go
her
ahead.
question is about the intent behind UCC, right? About why it's being brought and the timing of it. But having said that, what does UCC represent? It doesn't change just because a motive is differing or any of that.
It does. It does.
How?
It changes.
Actually, if I may just make a
just
point
like
here.
laws are
Property,
misused.
marriage,
Laws are
divorce,
misused.
inheritance,
Laws are
You
succession.
answer a question.
Okay,
let her
That's
answer.
the point, right?
Yeah,
The
that's the
point
question.
is
You
laws
answer the
are
question. Let her
misused.
answer.
There is mistrust at this
Okay.
point, as per the 21st Commission of the Law Panel. They themselves say that, or the 22nd, I beg your
20
pardon. The
The
22nd.
21st
The
Law Commission in
21st
2018 said that there is no
Okay,
point in bringing
Anisha,
in a UCC.
get it. Okay, what are you saying?
They
There you
said
have
there's
it.
no point in bringing in a UCC till you've streamlined and actually implemented the laws that exist. What the point that Nabila is making about mistrust, about non-implementation, that is the biggest problem. Because even if you bring in some sort of a draft, is society really following it. And the example I had made about co-pastory, though 2005 the Hindu Succession Act was changed, it took a Supreme Court order in 2020 to pretty much crack the whip.
No,
are we,
my point is that
even
if I may, 1835, let's look at history. 1835, it was the British East India Company, they wanted to codify some laws. 1835. Then it was said, no, you know, one section of Indian society is not ready for it. There was the Constituent Assembly, when they were discussing it, again it was said, and you know, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar is in favor of it, Aladi Krishna Iyer is in favor of it, but Muslims are not ready. Muslims are not ready.
Nobody can hear anything. One second, let
when will Muslims be ready? Yeah? When will Muslims be ready? Not ready in 1835, not ready in 1956, not ready in 2023. Shahbanu case mein,
Why are you only raising Muslims? Even Parsis are not happy with it.
You know,
There are many
so
tribal
let there be a
communities that are not happy
debate. Let
with
there be a
it. This
debate.
is precisely the point. You're targeting one religion.
How is one?
So aren't the six, by the way. So aren't the six.
You know,
So aren't the six. So aren't the six.
Six are all not
follow the
happy
same law.
with it. So
Follow
then
the same law.
what is this?
Which law? That is the question.
Time out. Okay, Nalini, come in.
There are a lot of words that are being thrown around as empty rhetoric. There were things that Gaurav said about how UCC is secular, the parliament needs to enact it and the country needs to follow it. Then, two questions.
No,
Gaurav.
I'm sorry, how's that rhetoric? How is that rhetoric?
Gaurav, I did not interrupt you.
How is it rhetoric?
I hope you're telling you how. Respect.
She's telling you how. Go
Two questions I have to ask you. One, when was the last time you saw a staunchly Hindutva party like the BJP standing for anything
So you're
secular
getting
in this
into
country?
politics over
One
women's
second,
rights.
let me complete my point. Let me complete my point.
Women's rights is secondary to politics.
The second question, which is a more important
Actually,
question.
yes, it is.
When was the last time that you saw the parliament intelligently debating any aspect, let alone the Uniform Civil Code?
So you
In
are
the
saying
past-
Parliament in India is not worthy of making laws. So who should make laws?
no,
Supreme
I
Court
do
of
not
India.
May I get a word in? I want to ask the question. Gaurav, is it about women's rights?
Is this
Yes,
not?
yes,
Is
yes
this
or no?
not?
Can I
what
just
say?
repeat my point?
Property, marriage, divorce,
If it is about equal rights,
inheritance,
can I
replace
complete one
personal laws
second?
based on customs and
If it is,
traditions
Gaurav,
with
if
law.
this is about equal rights, are you standing up for gay rights as well? Because I am standing up for equal
Well
rights,
done.
yes or no?
Absolutely.
You think
every right.
You think the government needs to come
I
in?
don't speak for the government.
But what
I don't
what
speak
do you
for the
speak
government.
for? What do you speak for?
I am saying.
Are you pro gay rights?
I am pro. The debate today is on
Are you
uniform
pro
civil
gay
code.
rights
I'm
or not?
sorry.
It's about equal rights. The
No,
debate today is
it's
equal
about-
rights.
it's-
Uniform
so
the
the
debate today is for everyone,
The debate today is
including
uniform
the
civil
debate.
code.
The debate
I am
today is
sorry.
equal rights.
See, this is exactly how
Can I?
Code also speaks
I
on
am
Nabila,
adoption.
I am
Gaurav,
sorry,
Nabila,
this entire
one
debate,
thing-
this is
one second,
exactly
one
how,
Gay
this is
marriage,
exactly how,
adoption.
I'm sorry, this is uniform
I
civil
know,
code and
I
suddenly
based on
they bring in,
adoption.
when it's about
Gaurav.
when it's women's rights.
It speaks
Women's
on
rights, gay rights,
It's
rights
about
are
everybody's
equal.
rights.
So,
speaks on adoption.
okay, Akshita wants to come in. Akshita.
Because
I have
everybody's
the
right.
softest voice perhaps here, and I've been drowned out at least 100 times.
Go ahead.
When we talk about, you know, the Uniform Civil Code, I think what we're all saying is great. It brings about consistency, it brings about uniformity, it ensures, you know, simplicity of the law and gender rights and all of that. But at the same time, we're also questioning it, saying there's distrust in the government. We need to take a side here. You can't be like this
You
plus
cannot
that.
take
We
a
want an
side in
ideal
a country
situation.
as diverse as ours. You cannot take a side at this point.
I'm talking about
needs to be a year. No, not about us.
I'm talking about us. I'm
How
saying
can
that
we
on
take
one
a
hand,
side? Aren't we showing the sentiment of the
Okay,
country
one
right
second,
now?
just
We have
let-
diverse
okay,
opinions.
Akshita,
I cannot
point,
drown out
let-
anyone.
allow-
We have diverse
I
opinions.
cannot
Nabila,
drown out
allow
anyone's
Akshita
voice.
to make a point. Make your point, Akshita.
My only point is this, that while everyone on this table says, look, UCC is great, we need it for gender rights, at the same time, we can't trust this government to do it. Who do you trust
You
then?
want us to take a side?
Who
Or
do you
want us
trust
to
them?
speak our mind?
Because on one hand, one second, because on one hand you have the BJP saying we'll bring in UCC. On the other you have the Congress right now saying we don't want it. It's being brought in a polarized atmosphere, etc. So you either take it as it is or you don't take it at all. As simple as that.
Which is precisely
What
why,
is the ideal
which is
situation
precisely
we're talking
why
about
at
here?
the very beginning I said
not
that
as simple
politicians
as that.
cannot...
Okay, one second, Nabila. Okay, make your point.
Which is
Let's-
precisely why, at the very beginning, I said politicians cannot be trusted with this
So who
decision. This has to be, the reform needs to come from within the communities first. First,
Which community?
Any
Don't
community.
agree one
Which
of them.
community?
Any minority community. Gaurav, I know you're trying to be a little snarky, but let me explain it to you. Let me explain it to you.
1, 2,
That the
3,
issue.
4, 5 women on this panel, and I am saying bring UCC.
I'm saying bring UCC, but I'm also saying bring equal rights for gays, which you are
I am sorry.
Equality
This is
cannot be
about
right.
Gaurav, if I may make one small point.
Feminist है, लेकिन uniform civil code.
Gaurav, feminist है, इसीलिए uniform civil code में gay rights भी आएगा. Gaurav, feminist है, इसीलिए uniform civil code में सब कुछ आएगा.
Let Nalini complete and then Gaurav will
This is exactly like Amitabh Bachchan in Diwar. जाओ जाके उसका साइन करा के लाओ. जाओ जाके इसका साइन करा के लाओ.
One second, okay, everybody.
Just one
Let
question to
everybody
Nalini.
have their one. Nalini, make your point.
Nalini, when you mention religious groups, isn't the Law Commission asking for opinion from these religious groups?
Correct. And this is an ongoing debate. This is an ongoing debate that's been going on since the time the constitution was drafted. What my point is, I know the politicians will tell you it's all about religion, and we are discussing issues like religion and gender, but the issue regarding uniform civil code is much bigger. It's about protection of geographical identities. It's about protection of cultural identities. There are states in the northeast that follow their personal laws. Nabila, please let me complete. Please let me complete. There are states in the northeast that follow their personal laws only because their culture and their traditions are so far diverse from anything else in the country.
You know,
all of that is going to be washed away.
It's not a Hindu-Muslim issue.
If a uniform civil code needs to be brought in, if a uniform civil code needs to be brought in, first, any community, whether it's a tribal community, a religious community, or a gender community, needs to decide that there need to be changes that need to be introduced internally first before any external change can be
वो
imposed.
1791 में फ्रांस ला सकता है महिलाओं के लिए इक्वल राइट्स, लेकिन 2024 के भारत में हम फिर भी
France is a tiny fraction of the size and population of this country, as well as the diversity required.
When you talk about diversity, do remember unity in diversity. Diversity के नाम पर you cannot have Sharia law in any country.
One thing has
to be decided. One thing has to be decided. ये देश constitution से चलेगा, संविधान से चलेगा.
संविधान ही नहीं दिया है सबको राइट अपना.
अगर संविधान से चलेगा, अगर संविधान से चलेगा, अगर संविधान से अगर संविधान से चलेगा तो डायरेक्टिव प्रिंसिपल है आर्टिकल 44 है.
Article 44 is subsumed under Article 15, 16, 25.
At the same time,
everyone has the right to also follow their culture,
their culture. If their culture gives them, I am sorry, if a culture gives a woman less rights and all of you are okay with it,
we're not
good luck
okay
to
with
you.
it.
Good luck to you, girls. Good luck to all of you.
Where are you putting your goalpost? But I think that's all the time we
Good luck.
have.
Have fun.
You know what, Gaurav?
Five women on the panel.
Speaking so much about Hindu-Muslim.
5 women on the panel saying in one voice we need a UCC, but really
Well
we
done.
Don't agree, yet we disagree. There's no agree to disagree.
You're trying to paint the entire picture with one
Well
brush.
done. So well done. I'm so proud of you.